What's going on, everybody? Doc, Average Gamer Guys, back yet again and into some more Apex Legends. The video here today, we are going to be covering Season 6 patch notes, giving some thoughts, running through the whole thing, showing off some of the upcoming map changes as well. So trying to do a little bit of a deep dive, and again, as you know, sprinkled in some of my thoughts for what we got coming up for Season 6. As you can see, Season 6 is not out yet. I'm actually recording this the night prior. I'm eagerly awaiting. It's the one time. These are the few times in my life that I wish I lived on the West Coast instead of the East Coast, because the update, for whatever reason, comes out at like 10 p.m. Pacific Standard. They said they're doing that in order to control basically like the influx of people trying to download it, which actually makes a lot of sense. But it's a little frustrating because most of the time the update would have come out a couple hours ago, so we could have got some gameplay. So fortunately, no gameplay, but we are going to definitely be playing over the next couple of days, so stay tuned. If you're one of the unfortunate people that maybe isn't going to be able to play it when it first comes out, or if maybe you're like me, you can see I'm level 49 in the past. There's a good chunk of time I didn't really play much Apex Legends, kind of got sucked into other games. The last couple of days, with kind of the hype for the new season coming out, we're jumping back into it. So again, we'll jump into it. Let's talk about the patch notes and all the other cool stuff that we've got coming. So Season 6 is coming up. It's called Boosted. As you guys know, anytime we get a new season, we get a new character, we're getting some new guns, and there is a ton of character changes that we want to talk about. So I'm going to focus on that. I do want to dive into the map a little bit because World's Edge, personally not my favorite. However, some of the stuff they're talking about doing and they're showcasing actually sounds pretty cool. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for a revamp of the map. I definitely think from the first World's Edge we had until up till now, this refinement that we've seen the last two seasons has been really good. I'm hoping we just continue to move it forward. So let's jump into this. We're going to talk about the map first. So World's Edge update. We've got Hammond Robotics. They're doing some crazy stuff. They've got a whole bunch of stuff that they want to quote unquote upgrade, which is really cool. So let's actually jump over and take a look at that. So they wanted obviously some more improved play on the lava side of the map, which I always thought was a little restrictive just because of the choke points that it created. And choke points aren't bad on a map, but this game is all about movement and being able to move around and flank and get different angles. And so I like the idea of trying to make these areas more viable, and I think that's what they're trying to do here. They want better options for rotations, again, like they talked about, sticky choke points, and then a new map mechanic to promote different combat scenarios. We'll see if this one plays out. But they've got a couple of ones that they want to talk about. Launch site. By the way, I have to say, I love... I'm getting choked up. I love how they do this. So this is launch site. If you guys are familiar with this, there's not a lot here. Honestly, there's not a lot. And this is what they're changing it to, which is going to be absolutely awesome. They want this to be one of the big drop spots, the new big drop spot. They always seem to do a specific POI to draw a lot of players. You got catwalk system they talk about holds a ton of loot. There's 4 large control rooms, catwalks, so not kind of similar to like the tree catwalks is what it reminds me of. And I think this is going to be awesome. And obviously, this makes it go from basically barren with nothing to a whole bunch of stuff. So this is going to be pretty cool. I'm excited about that. They also talk about wanting to basically add some new, I'll call them flank routes, some new rotation areas. And they're doing that by opening this up from the launch site to add this, which is, as you guys are familiar, there's a couple of these pathways on the map already. Add in one of these pathways to give you an option to actually go from launch site to the tree, which is actually going to be really cool. So I'm excited for that. Countdown, they're going to continue to change up. They wanted to have this basically be a fortress now. They wanted to build this up. I've always actually liked this POI, this drill site. It's really cool. And again, drill site has been changed with countdown. I actually always really like drill site. I feel like it was one of those where you always get like a 2-squad fight. There's some decent loot there, plenty of bins to open up, but they're totally revamping it and making it a lot different. It's also going to provide some different angles, I feel like, onto kind of what's overlooking and some of these rotation areas over here and over here. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited for this. Always like a change up. So it seems like a lot more built up. World's Edge definitely feels like with a lot of this, they're building it up, which is going to be really cool. Staging, they're doing some refinement here, which I think is really, really cool. We'll get our music back here, which I think is going to be pretty neat. So they're going to build that up. Again, it just seems like they're adding some more. Again, they want POIs. Mirage's Voyage is actually going. That was pretty loud. Sorry about that. Mirage's Voyage is actually going, which is going to be interesting that they're pulling that out. But it makes sense. It's obviously introducing for the next season something other kind of change that they're going to bring in, focus on a different character, so that'll be pretty cool. So this is the new thing that they're bringing in, which is these rising blast walls. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. So again, basically they're talking about how they want to add in these new fortifications that you can trigger these with a panel, bring them up, and then again, a fortified position. I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's going to be interesting depending on exactly where they place them. And they're going to be kind of scattered around. They're talking about launch site countdown and staging. So some of the new areas that we're seeing. So it should add some cool dynamics to it. And this could make for some kind of like end of the match kind of ring closing. Is kind of shutting some areas down. Pretty cool. So they added a new survey camp and skyhook cut through, which is actually really cool. So if you're familiar, this is what it looks like now. We're getting another cut through in here, which is pretty neat. And then they talked about a lot of other small tweaks and additions, which is also going to be pretty neat. So they've stopped the train. That's probably a big change for a lot of folks. No more train going to be rolling around, and therefore they've basically opened up some of these areas, scattered the train cars around, scattered the loot, scattered, honestly, on the train tracks, some cover, which is going to make rotations and some movement along there probably a little bit better. So pretty excited about that. And then they also did add in, if you're familiar with this, they added a geyser into Lava Fisher, which is going to be pretty cool. I always thought this needed kind of an extra jump spot. You got all these different zip lines, and then with Mirage's Voyage gone, I think it needs another accessibility. You've got the zip line here, so being able to have a geyser and get up over here is pretty cool. So a lot of other little changes they talked about, but that's generally the map, and looking pretty good. So let's get into it. Rampart. She is our new legend, and brings with her some interesting things. So her passive is Modded Loader. She gets increased magazine capacity and faster reloads for LMGs and the minigun. She also has increased amount of shots before overheating occurs and cooling on the L-Start. The passive feels a little underwhelming to me. LMGs are not terribly placed, but there's not a ton of them. So her passive is going to be very, very much specific to being able to pick one of those guns up. If you're not a fan of using LMGs, there's a good chance you don't use her very much because her passive isn't super, super beneficial. Obviously, you L-Star users out there, she's going to be great for that. Obviously, getting additional shots. But beyond that, I'm not super impressed with this up front. I'm just going to say that. Now, her tactical is pretty cool. She basically builds, if you've seen the trailer, she builds up these crouch wall covers, which you can basically shoot out of, and then they block incoming shots. And it's a crouch wall for half of it, and then again, what they call a full cover amped wall that you can, again, amps up outgoing shots. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with these. If it's just increased velocity, increased damage, and kind of how that goes. I think she could be one of these utility players, and it seems like it's going to be a little bit more, I'll say, practical than Gibraltar's ult, because you can shoot out of it. So it's kind of a neat change, while also being able to provide cover and some utility. So I think her tactical is pretty cool. And then their ultimate is going to be this in-place minigun that she calls Sheila. You can place 3 of these at a time. Note that for amped cover, you can place 5 of them at a time. She places this mounted machine gun that anyone can use, has a high ammo capacity, and a long reload time. Now, here's the interesting thing for this. This game's all about mobility. It's also all about positioning. So obviously, you can tactical amped cover, throw one of these miniguns behind this, and be able to put some rounds down range. The thing I'm not sure about with this is this ultimate really forces you into one position. Not sure how I feel about it. Only time will tell. We'll see how good this thing is, how much damage it does, because I think that's really important. But I don't know. Underwhelming is the words I'd like to use to describe her. Although we'll see. We don't know yet because she's not out, but we'll see what she drops and how she plays. She's definitely different, which is really cool. She's bringing a new element. Obviously, being able to, again, the passive, I feel like needs a little bit of tweaks. Maybe they open it up to like another subset, maybe assault rifles or SMGs or something. Might make that a little bit. It just feels too limiting on the play style, right? And she's meant to be, using the big guns and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. We just want her to be usable, right? So she'll see a lot of use at the beginning. Don't rage quit because you don't get to use her the first game that you jump into. But try her out and we'll see. And we'll see if she gets some tweaks as she moves along. So we get a new thing here. The new weapon is the Volt SMG. It's the first energy-based SMG, and it's going to be pretty cool. I'm actually really excited for this. The gameplay trailer looked really cool. Energy mags and stuff are going to be back, and so we're going to kind of see what's coming for this thing. We also have some other changes a little bit later on that are going to kind of put this gun to the forefront, I think, a little bit, at least get people to try it out. There's a new crafting system, so this is really big, actually, and I like this aspect of trying to change this up, especially in a battle royale that can be very RNG based, right? So they're introducing a system where basically you move around, you find materials either through loot bins or these material stations, which will be popped up. Then you can run to a replicator. It's in the replicator. You're going to have 8 different pieces of loot that you can craft. This is going to rotate either on a weekly or a daily basis, and you'll be able to see the current craftable items in the game mode selector or the map screen. So you're always going to have that information. And basically, you're going to be able to go to this thing, get the right materials, be able to craft whatever you need. And in the gameplay trailer, I think they showed like grenades, a weapon, maybe a couple of weapons, armor. So it gives you options. I like this. I think this is really cool. We'll see how usable it is, but definitely if it's, and how, the big thing here is going to be how many materials it takes to make certain things, as well as how frequent those materials are. That's really going to be the basis for it. So we'll see how they pop out and how the loot table works with materials, but I like this. I think this is pretty cool, and I think gives a lot of options as well. Armor meta. So this is getting a lot of discussion, at least from what I've seen on Reddit, which is going to be interesting. Basically, regular armor is gone. Everything is going to be Evo armor. In addition to that, you start with level 0 Evo armor. So if you drop at the beginning and grab a pistol, you and your squad, and you end up fighting off another squad, and you do enough damage, 50 damage gets you to white shields, 125 to blue, 250 to purple, and 500 to red. So these are new damage requirements. But I like the fact that you start basically with no armor, but the ability to upgrade that armor, which is really, really cool. So basically it's trying to take out what we'll call the loot availability of the early game. Again, if you drop in a bad spot, but maybe your weapon spawns are really good and you can get some damage in. I like this. I actually think this is pretty cool. And you don't have to hot drop to get all the best loot either, which is also very cool. They also want you to level up their shields through damage, luck, or through crafting. So they're just trying to give more options for this. Here's the interesting thing getting a lot of discussion. Big difference is all armors are coming down by 25 health. All right, so purple and gold armor are now going to have 175 health instead of 200. Red gets you to 200, no longer 225. So here's the interesting thing. The 175 health with the gold armor almost feels like a nerf to the gold armor. Red armor getting to 200 health is probably an okay balance. Their whole goal for this is to bring down time to kill. I will say, players with red armor at 225 in current season does feel like it takes a lot to take them down. It feels you can really engage, fight, even team shoot, and sometimes still have, I'll say, some difficulty if that player has good maneuverability or a better position, which obviously they should be favored in. Feels like it can really take some damage to take these down. I'm okay with this change, but we're going to have to see how it plays out. And again, it does feel like It's less of a choice now for the gold armor. I feel like in this situation, you'd want the extra health. At the current position where gold armor sits with the ability to use smaller heals, it actually feels like a good balance right now. So I'm not sure between gold and red how that's going to play out. However, for those of you out there that like to get in fights and like to get kills, this is going to be a welcome addition for the damage requirements. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm excited for this. We'll see what happens. I'm really excited for the level 0 Evo armor, to be honest with you. I think that's going to be really, really interesting. So, hollow sprays. They're new. You can emote. You can throw them down. Really cool. You get a new battle pass. Everybody's really familiar with that. You get a reactive supersonic G7. We get the Bloodhound Road Warrior, some skins, some sprays, skydive emotes, weapon charms. You guys know the deal with the battle pass. This thing does look pretty sweet. Pretty excited with that. We're going to get a new quest. Obviously, crafting materials, points, packs, charms. You guys know the deal with that. Legends. Big changes. A lot of focus on the recon class here, so let's just jump right into it. All recon legends, that's Bloodhound, Crypto, and Pathfinder, can use survey beacons. All right? Crypto can even use his drone to get this information. I think it says instantly, so fly right up to it, ping it, boom, good to go. That's kind of cool, actually. Survey beacons no longer just being limited to Pathfinder. I'm okay with that change. Pathfinder. They still don't know what to do with Pathfinder is how I read this. A lot of people out there hated the nerfs. Honestly, it feels like he's been in a better position, just me personally, but I might not be the expert on that. However, they do feel like they need to make some tweaks. So here, for him, his zipline gun cooldown is going to be reduced for 10 seconds every time he uses a beacon. This is going to really, I don't want to say force, but really push you Pathfinder mains out there to use those beacons, get that information for your team. That way your cooldown on your zipline gun can work. Fair trade, maybe, maybe not, but they felt like they needed to do something since they basically took away one of his abilities by giving it to everybody. Bloodhound. Bloodhound probably gets the most specific and the most buffs out of anybody throughout these changes for Season 6, but basically they want him to be the information gatherer. So Beast of the Hunt now gains even more duration when Bloodhound scores a knockdown or kill, which is actually pretty cool, so you can keep that running a little bit longer. Eye of the Allfather now comes out twice as fast and has a much shorter cooldown during Beast of the Hunt. I think this is important. So when your ultimate triggers, that's when you get the buffs for the rest of this stuff, right? So now, Beast of the Hunt duration extensions upwards of 15 seconds based on the remaining duration that you have. And Eye of the Allfather during Beast of the Hunt goes from a 25-second queue to a 6-second queue, which means you can just be constantly kind of popping it, giving your team the locations and all that kind of stuff, which I think is really neat. And then again, your Eye of the Allfather total use time goes down significantly, so it's dropped in half to trigger, which again makes sense. When you pop Beast of the Hunt, you want to be able to get in, have the information, fight, and the ability of the tracker. Bloodhound's Beast of the Hunt always felt like a very selfish ultimate, which doesn't really fit his role as a recon player. So it makes sense that they want him to be able to kind of spam, I don't want to say spam, but really use his ability a lot and continue to give his team information. So I like this. This might be a little aggressive. I don't think the queue time is aggressive. The kind of like the cooldown might be, but again, if you don't get a lot of kills, you might not be popping this more than a couple of times. So a lot of changes for him. I think this is going to make him a lot more usable. But again, I like the fact that it's really centered around Beast of the Hunt and the ultimate, and that feels okay. That feels okay to me for right now. We'll see. Obviously, we gotta play it. We gotta test it out. Now, Crypto, they're really not sure what to do with him beyond the fact that they know they need to buff him and they need to focus on his drone. So Crypto can now activate respawn and survey beacons from the drone. They can do this instantly instead of a prolonged use. This is actually some pretty good viability for him here. They also made it more consistent to hit, but also doubled the hit points on their surveillance drone. They talked about that there basically was a bug that made it difficult for him to hit, or you thought you were hitting it when you weren't. EMP will now slow teammates caught in the blast even if they had no shields. this is interesting because Revenant's Death Totem uh, is probably where the big thing that they're focusing on. And they talk about this a little bit with basically the ability of Crypto, Wraith, Revenant teams on really high level play can basically do 2 pushes, right? They can use his Death Totem. The whole team uses it. Crypto can go use his EMP, slow everybody down. They can push, bam, they go back to the Death Totem. Then they can pour it in with Wraith, and it's double push, and there's not a whole lot you can do at that point. So the EMP to slow teammates down is actually to kind of counter that current meta that's going on. And honestly, it kind of makes sense. Surveillance drone, they upped the HP to 60, and they made it a little bit bigger to hit, which feels pretty good. Again, Revenant, other legend that they're working on. Again, they wanted to attack the crypto EMP charge change that was going on, and then for 2 seconds after being recalled by a Death Totem, you cannot use Wraith's Dimensional Rift. Makes sense. Again, it's all about what they're seeing from higher level play. And I should have said this at the beginning. People need to understand that they want the viability and the meta of the competitive play, the top tier play, to be really good, to be entertaining to watch, to be fun for players, and not to be so cookie cutter that everybody's running the same teams. This is a direct move to do that. If you're in the lower tiers, of ranked, if you're a platinum or lower player, a lot of these changes, while they will affect you, don't really affect you in the grand scheme, right? If you're a top end player, this is definitely things you need to be paying attention to. If you main one of these characters, obviously you need to be paying attention to them. Other than that, though, please understand that these are all really centered around the ranked competitive play because they want it to be fun for people to watch and for it to be really competitive. They want it to be as balanced as they can. So should have said that up front. Important to remember when you're hearing all of this and you're seeing it in play. Octane, for some reason, you can now use this stim while healing, although it won't remove the slow. So that's cool, I guess. Loba, they said they basically wanted to adjust her. They're really not sure. They feel like her utility is pretty good, but her ultimate is rather lacking. So they lowered the cooldown from 3 minutes to 90 seconds, basically so you can continuously rotate loot for your team. That feels like a good change to me. And doesn't feel too overpowered with the Evo shield changing out either. So it doesn't feel like you'll be pulling shields as much, where that might have been a little out of place. And again, it really rewards the ability to fight teams and win. So I like this. I think we'll see some more Loba changes as we move a little bit more into the season. Gibraltar's defensive bombardment, they increased the cooldown, added a minute and a half. Bangalore, they did the reverse, dropped hers a minute and a half. Probably just needed because they were seeing this used too much and this not used enough. And then Watson, the interception pylon is interesting. It can now shoot down caustic barrels if they're thrown in the range of the trophy. Pretty cool. Loot. This is some important ones. Extended energy mags have been added. Turbocharger is back. Precision choke has been removed, but is now integrated automatically into the triple take and the Peacekeeper by default, and you can select this to toggle on and off. I actually really like this. I'm a big fan of the triple take, and I always hated having to find a precision choke. I feel like to kind of make this weapon viable, I like the fact that it's just going to come, and pulling the precision choke, because it really did just for the Peacekeeper and triple take. I feel like pulling it out, putting turbocharger back in makes a lot of sense. Now this one's going to make a lot of people sad. It made me pretty sad, but it makes sense with the weapon that we're getting. The R99 now goes into the supply drop. They did increase the damage from 11 to 12, mag size up to 32, and 160 ammo in reserve, which is pretty good. I feel like care packages I'm going to push because they love this gun, but it feels good. And again, it makes sense. Pull this out, put it into the supply drop, basically force people to use the new energy SMG, which I'm fine with. I don't like it, but I'm fine with it. It makes sense. They want people to play with the new toy. And again, this gun is really, really good. R99, since it's been in the game from the very beginning, has always shredded, and makes sense to just rotate it. Keep the game fresh. So I like that. They're pulling out of the supply drop loot, and going into the ground is the Devotion, and they reverted the clip size back to what they used to be. So Devotion users out there, you'll be able to pick this bad boy up. And this feels like a good spot to excuse me, especially with the new character. So hopefully she gets the buffs for this as well. Fully kitted weapons. They're changing it up. No longer are you going to see any of these. You're now getting the Volt, the Flatline, Triple Take, Mastiff, and the Devotion, which is really cool. Mastiff is the one probably that scares me the most. Devotion also, basically being a gold spawn on the ground, is going to be interesting. Flatline having that back is pretty cool. And then I like the fact that they're throwing the Volt in here. That's going to be pretty neat as well. Updated loot, sniper ammo. This is big. I like this change. They need to do this. 8 to 12. Increased stack size, 16 to 24, which is good. I think that was much needed. Energy ammo. They did reduce this, which I think is really interesting, from 30 down to 20. So you have to balance your energy ammo, especially with, the new, I don't know, the new SMG. Whatever, it is what it is. We'll see if they make any adjustments to that. Weapon updates, the last bit of important stuff. Hemlock, reduce vertical recoil in burst mode. Again, recoil pattern for second and third shot, and then burst mode time between bursts actually went down, so it feels like the Hemlock's going to get a little bit of buff there. Charge rifle now back to 2 ammo per shot, but you get twice as much ammo in the mag. Triple take buff, we get an increased fire rate, so I actually like that, and mag size. So and with the built-in choke hop-up, I've always said this is one of the better sniper rifles in the game, especially if you can't hit your shots, because you get the spread. I like the triple take though, so I welcome these changes. PK, again, get the built-in choke. Spitfire, improve recoil controllability. So again, maybe catering a little bit to the new legend, but we'll see how this one plays out for the Spitfire. And then Havoc, they gave a new recoil pattern. This is an important designer note, because I've said this ever since the last changes to this gun. I feel like it went from completely unusable. It had too much horizontal movement, and recoil made it freaking terrible to use. They said basically that they don't want too much or too little recoil. They're trying to find the right spot for it. So they said a new recoil pattern is going to be a way to make it more consistent. I like that. Mozambique users out there, you get an extra round. So this thing could be dangerous. Watch out. P2020 gets a buff. So pistols, let's jump it up. Goes up to 15. They did decrease hammer point modifier, and it basically leaves the hammer point 2020 basically the same, and then a little bit more mag size for those, so a little more chances. Sentinel, 1 shield cell to charge if the player has gold armor, so that's kind of cool. And then Prowler, you get a slight reduction on vertical recoil in burst mode, but increase horizontal recoil in auto mode. So just trying to kind of maybe balance that weapon out a little bit. Some quality of life stuff. Supply drop weapons are now heirloom tier, so they're red. That avoids confusion. Again, they're doing some performance improvements, and then alterations were made to the ring to prevent late zones from centering on unplayable terrain and reduce the predictability of the zone's pull. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. This is very hard to do and do really well. So hopefully they can make it work. Whole bunch of bug fixes I'm not going to cover, and that's really all it is. So a little bit longer video than I thought. I sprinkled a little bit of my thoughts in there, but hopefully you guys are ready for Season 6. I certainly know I am. We're definitely going to be playing it. I'm definitely also going to be trying to focus a little bit more on the YouTube aspect of this, but we'll definitely be streaming this game on the weekends for sure. So links for all that stuff in the description below. Let me know your thoughts, especially once this goes up. You might have had a chance to play, so let me know what you think of some of the changes, as well as the new character. Really curious to hear your feedback. And again, if you enjoyed the video, if it was helpful to you, thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell. Stay tuned to the channel for Apex Legends and a whole bunch of other stuff that we got coming out. And just appreciate you guys tuning in and sticking through this longer video. I'm a Doc, Average Gamer, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll catch you on a stream real soon. And yeah, peace.